The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. 2nd March edition. We did my first one from my Area 58 location last night, a Zoom to Arkansas. Now we're going to San Antonio, Texas. I've not been to San Antonio. I love conquering new turf, for lack of a better analogy, whatever. Okay, whatever the word is, analogy. Okay, but before I get to it, my guest down there, and he's a very interesting person who has his own podcast. We're going to read these incredible underwriters, and then we will commence per usual. So we have Eli's Auto Repair in Taunton. We have Johnny Macaroni's Restaurants, 2 in East Bridgewater, 1 in Halifax. We got Lynch's Towing, Auto Cycle, and Truck Center in Brockton. 1 number for towing, 1 number for projects. Always looking for new scrap metal wheels, anything my pal Lynchy in Brockton down there can do with, he can. So we got 1 Good Credit in Brockton. We got John's Greenhouses and Flora Shop in Brockton. We got Autotown Auto Glass installed in Abington. We got Countertops Express in North Attleboro, experts in the installation and removal of quartz and granite. We got Elman's Auto Sales in Bridgewater. Congratulations on them opening that new dealer. We got the Gun Runner LLC, the Second Amendment Freedom Store in Middleborough. We got Doggy Boutique, all breed professional grooming for dogs and cats, run by my great next door neighbor, Debbie Siddall in Brockton. We got Easton Fitness and the Village Shops in Northeastern. We got R.W. Carpet and Flooring in Norton, covering floors for 50 years. And we got Joe's Diner in Taunton. I want to thank you guys very much. And now I introduced the guy with a very free-flowing name, Mr. Lorenzo Arreola. Is that how you say it?
Yes, sir. Lorenzo Arreola. That's how my mother says it. Mm-hmm.
And you're in San Antonio, Texas. That's and a very nice backdrop you have there. It looks like you're sitting in a saloon with a lot of people that have come and visited to have happy hour behind you. But
yeah, this is my house actually. I know we have the Alamo, but I always forget about it.
Oh, okay. Well, I never forget the Alamo because how can you forget it when they say it? They tell you to remember it in every history book about it. Okay.
Yeah, I tend to forget about it. You've been here so long, you forget about the Alamo.
Okay, I understand. You just sort of get used to it. It's like it's part of your history, your heritage, and sometimes you take it for granted because you got to live your current life. But that is a nice backdrop you have there, and you have your own podcast from there, correct?
Yes, sir. It's called That's All Funny. It's a daily podcast. It's on YouTube or anywhere else you find your podcasts.
Okay. Did you say that's all funny, like haha funny?
Yeah, that's all funny. Okay.
So it's a humorous podcast, and those are the best kind, I think.
I try to be humorous, yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I mean, now are we doing a simulcast? Is this am I part of your podcast as we speak, or will be?
No. I mean, if you want to be,
fine. It's up to you, but
yeah, I mean, you'd be fine. That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're a great person. I've seen you, seen many interviews that you've done, and you seem to be a great person, character.
Thanks. I'd argue if I could. I always say people compliment me. I can't help it. I do have a little ego, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, you got like what do you call it? The swag, as the kids say, with your dress, the way you dress, and your movement.
Okay. Well, it's probably just because my shorts are tight, but I understand.
Yeah, you know how it is.
Funny this. You were being funny now. I like that. All right. Well, tell me. All right. So, how long have you been doing your podcast for?
Maybe about, I want to say 6 months almost. Just started it.
Congratulations. Now, how did you find me exactly? Was it through the WATP crew?
Yeah, through Adam Thoreau and the WATP crew. And actually, they were the ones that found me because I kind of got featured on the WATP, just kind of like you did.
Okay.
And that's what kind of gave me a little 15 minutes of fame that I'm still trying to ride on,
Me too. Yeah. Okay. I've been doing the show. This is my 13th year. So
yeah.
All I can say is stay with it because it's fun and and great things happen that you don't even see coming if you stay with it. But you got to stay with it, and I have a hunch you will. But
I've noticed that.
Oh yeah. Well, tell me about yourself, Don. This is what I do with every person I interview, regardless of whether they're with me in person or thousands of miles away, which you are. Tell me about I mean, are you of Hispanic origin? You sort of have that, south of the border, not south of the border, but near the border type of the dialect. And I'm kind of guessing by your name.
Yeah. I'm right above the border, but yeah, I am of Hispanic origin.
Okay, cool.
If I may not look it or not, I am, but
No,
I
you
do
do.
not.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't speak a lick of Spanish. I do
Really?
not.
'Cause you
Don't.
sort of have a Mexican sounding dialect that I'm hearing here.
I think it was growing up with my family, but I remember my grandparents, they never wanted me to learn Spanish because when they were kids here in America and they'd speak Spanish, they'd get the ruler on the hand or something.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, you know how it
Right.
was back then for foreigners. So they never wanted me to learn Spanish, and that's why I just never learned it. Now it kind of nipped me in the bud because everybody knows Spanish now.
Yeah, well, it's kind of ironic because I, on the other hand, took 3 years of Spanish in high school and flunked them all.
It took you 3 years to realize you couldn't learn it.
It took me 3 years of having to get the credits in order to graduate. And once I flunked Spanish too, they still pushed me through because they didn't want me at the school any longer than I had to be. Thank goodness.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
we had fun. I met some interesting people during those years, and that was, and I learned a few things. And now, as a matter of fact, as long as we're on the topic of that, I actually have a dry cleaner who's Hispanic, and whenever I go into, to get my suits pressed and smelling real nice and everything, so I always speak Spanish to her, and we hobnob a little bit, adios, gracias, muy bien, that kind of thing, but not too much.
Yeah.
But I mean, I always, as a kid, I always wanted to learn a bunch of foreign languages. Chinese was first and foremost because I've always been fascinated by how difficult it must be because it's got no alphabet. It's got 3,000 character pictures. It's amazing how some of the I always have been fascinated by how the languages on earth came to be. I mean, to think when you think English English itself is a hard enough language, but when you realize the ones that preceded it, I mean, when you realize what must have been to learn those things, learn those hieroglyphics and whatever. It's incredible.
Well, shoot, if you want to learn Chinese, you might as well learn how to do tongue twisters.
Well, I know, but it's kind of a big thing now. I mean, learning because now even though we're having issues with the Chinese, it's an amazing situation. I don't know if you talk about the news on your podcast, but I
do
sometimes now. I let the discussion kind of like build on itself when I do topic time. And as we're talking on the subject of Chinese stuff, I mean, it's amazing where it seems like. I mean, they were one of the first countries on earth where they're supposedly our adversaries, and yet, somehow we have to learn so much stuff that we get is made in China, and we have to learn. And learning the language is something that's so important now, in computer work and software stuff like that, because most of a lot of it is in Mandarin and has to be translated through that, through that dialect. And I saw a story on 60 Minutes about 3 or 4 years ago about that, how so many people they're teaching Mandarin Chinese now in the high schools and a lot of places, and because of that's so important.
Oh, mandarins are great as far as the fruit, but I know my grandfather, he grew up, with the war. He was in World War II.
Okay.
And he always said, and you don't want to blame him for it, but every time he said see a Toyota, he'd want to crash it off the road, because it's just how they grew up as far as like, they taught you to kind of hate the adversary during the war. And then after the war's all done, you're like, oh, we're friends again. It's like, dude, we were just at war with these people and now peace, it's hard,
It is hard. I know. I wish the world could be at peace all the time. I heard something that sounded kind of positive today. They're doing something. They're having a meeting, the Chinese, Anthony Blinken, and the Secretary of Defense or whatever. He's in India, using them, kind of trying to help them to mediate the deal between the Chinese and the Russians and all the stuff that's going on in Ukraine right now. And I hope they can, because this could be a great world we live in if people could just get along, obviously. And I know we're getting a little serious now, but that's but I think humor is a good way to deal with that. I think sometimes, I know, no matter how harsh the news is, it seems like so many people are poking fun at it. And well, like with the balloons that just last month or whatever. I think it was it was 2 months ago. It might have been late January.
No, I think it was like last month.
I think it was February. Yeah, because we just got into March. It was like a month ago.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, when you have something like that happen, nothing like that has ever happened before. I mean, things are happening in the world right now like that are so different than something we never would have seen coming. And some of it is so bizarre. It's utterly humorous. And there's nothing wrong with poking fun at that. We're not really you can't offend people doing that. And even if you might offend some people, but you gotta enjoy the freedom of expression that we have in our country to be able to do stuff like that.
Oh yeah, it's my favorite amendment, the right to free speech.
You got it, man. It totally
but what I'm saying is you can make any kind of joke and someone's gonna be offended.
That's
It doesn't
true.
matter if you have the most lighthearted joke, someone's gonna be offended.
Some people just don't like corny stuff. They just
Uh-huh.
they're tight about whatever. They're uptight. I mean, that's the word. Not tight, uptight.
I think I made a joke about a woman, she's kind of chunky and she's buying a perfume and she's like, "What kind of perfume should I buy? Low fat
Oh my
perfume."
God. Wait a minute. You're working in a perfume store selling?
No, that's just, it was just a joke at a grocery store or something.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
did you actually say this to a woman that was overweight?
Oh, it was like a friend / yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. But
okay.
I'm a jokester is what I am.
I like it. I like the joke. I mean,
Yeah.
but I can definitely understand. I mean, I used to be overweight myself as a kid. And I've done a lot of things to change that. And now people tell me I'm too skinny. So you know what? I'm at my age, it's probably healthy to be skinny. I like it. And I just
Well, you can't win, huh? You used to be big and now everybody wants you bigger again now that you're thin. Jeez.
I know. I can't win. Yeah, but again, the other, the objective, looking at it objectively, you can't worry about what, people's comments all the time. Because everybody, I've noticed things that I've had said things that I probably shouldn't say when I've noticed stuff like you noticed a woman's was heavy and you made a comment about it. But sometimes if you see someone has a rash or something on their skin, you might mention it. I had a guy, one of my friends, he had these, spots on his face, and I said, "Oh, what happened to you?" And he goes, "I got cancer." And I go, "Uh-oh, shouldn't have said anything." But even, he's okay. I think he's going to be okay. But the point is,
yeah,
sometimes if you and I, people like us that do podcasts, we tend to be observational and we say things, the first things that come to mind when we see things. And sometimes we wish we could take it back. And sometimes it can end up upsetting people. And I know, I mean, I spent most of my first 50 years of life just alienating everybody. That's because I have autism and a lot of people found me to be just unbearable. I know that's why I made such a metamorphosis and done a 180, doing my show and everything. This seems to be the one way I can work on that so that people don't find me as unbearable as they usually do in real life, is doing my show.
Yeah, but those things were looked at way different back in the day, especially with me, I have like anxiety and depression.
Yeah,
back in the day, when I was growing up, they weren't looked at as so normal. Nowadays, it's normal for everyone to have the autism, the anxiety, the ADHD. They're more acceptable, in the world, to where people are understandable and they empathize.
Yeah. Well, tell me about your history. Like, what did you do as a kid? Well, I always like to find that out. I mean, you don't look too old now. You look like you're in your 20s or 30s, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm in my I think my mid 30s. I forget. After 30, you kind of it gets blurry. I'm either 35 or 36.
By being 63, how do and I still look at life as just the best is yet to come.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you still got a good chunk left, don't you?
I hope so.
especially with your stature and your health,
Right, exactly.
Uh-huh.
But tell me about what you were like as a kid. You said you didn't want to learn Spanish because you were afraid you'd get whacked with a ruler.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you aspire to as a kid? What were you like back then?
I mean, it was just living your normal kid life, watching cartoons, eating sandwiches with chips on side of them and stuff. I was a real chunky boy growing up, and then my parents divorced, and then it kind of goes downhill from there. Where I know I've been like arrested when I was a teenage, in that teenage angst youth. I was arrested because for burglary of a building. Kind of turned my life around after that, because I didn't want to go down the wrong path. And now all I do is just pay my taxes. Just started the podcast and just trying to live a boring life, I'll say. You know what I mean? I don't want any drama. I just want a boring life here at my home, nice and quiet.
Okay, and doing your podcast, that seems to work for you. That's great.
Yeah, it's definitely something to keep my mind off of
Robbing
the
buildings.
yeah, burglary, and then also all the demon thoughts in my head that might be telling me, hey, you should start stealing again, or hey, you should be afraid of everything that exists.
When you do your podcast, do you often have guests, or call-ins, or just by yourself, or how does it work?
Around 90% it's by myself.
Okay.
Just me talking to myself for about 10 to 12 minutes. I have had guests before.
Okay.
Just different guests like Adam Thoreau. I know he's a mutual friend of ours.
Yep.
I've had a couple of other guests of notoriety from different backgrounds, whether it be the YouTube or the OnlyFans, and we just talk, because we all have our pasts and our stories, we're all checkered like that.
Okay. Anyone from the joint?
No, I don't know. I only went to the jail that one time. I never really kept
Okay.
in
All right.
touch with anyone there.
Okay. All right. I'm just checking. I mean,
Yeah,
okay.
but mostly entertainers.
Tell me
And
about
then
the
I try
entertainers
to.
you've had on.
I'm sorry.
Tell me about the entertainers you've had on.
Oh, there's the YouTuber Mint Salad.
Okay.
She's a very she has autism, like you,
Okay.
and she reviews videos. I've had a female OnlyFans creator, Nightmare Christie.
Okay.
She does OnlyFans, but in the theme of like Halloween type, because everybody kind of likes that Halloweeny stuff.
Okay.
And then I've had friends like Adam Thoreau, one of my other friends, Linda Belmudez, who's just a friend I've had for years. So yeah, guests like that I would just know we could kind of have a conversation with and click and make any sort of dialogue, because I think even like you and I right now,
Yeah.
we're just sparking up discussions, and that's what makes people want to listen. It just us having a
Yeah. It's out of
engaging type of
conversation.
discussion. Yeah, just a
Exactly.
conversation. Maybe even making that discussion we have more into a conversation that keeps blossoming and asks even more questions
That's
and
what
gets
it's all
more
about.
answers. It's all
Okay.
about.
Do you have a large family? Do you have wife, kids, or anything like that? Pets?
Oh Lord, no. I have a sister and
Okay.
I have a couple of nieces, but as far as like me passing on my bloodline with
Okay.
the
Not going to
mental,
happen. You don't think?
yeah, no, the mental health stays right here. I am not passing these curses on to anyone else. And I don't know if I've mentioned in the podcast very much before, but I'm not a fan of my mother. I do not care about her whatsoever.
Oh, wow. Well,
Yeah.
that's, well, I mean, I don't want to get too personal. Family stuff can be tricky at times. I know that. I've had issues with my parents too. But you know what? I'm very lucky to still have both of them my age, because, time is passing and I still do, which is amazing, because a lot of people my age don't.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. I
No,
mean,
if you care about your parents, yeah, no, I'm very you do sound blessed if you still have them, if you care about them.
yeah. I mean, I care about them, and I know I know sometimes that sometimes I feel that they're too indifferent to what I do. They don't seem to. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I almost got committed a couple of times, and I tell people this on lots of shows. I talked to the girl I had on last week. She had some kind of, she had some mental health issues too. She was more close to here than you are, because she was in Rhode Island. And so I've convinced a lot of people I was mentally challenged and crazy long before I was able to, harness it into something positive like the show.
Yeah.
So the point of that is, what I'm getting at is that with my parents, I pretty much, when you're a kid, when you're in a family, especially the firstborn, which I am, and you give people the impression that you're nuts, or, and that you're mentally challenged, that you can't, take care of yourself. It kind of reflects on the parents, and my mother especially, not reflects, but they kind of feel it. The stigma kind of like it's almost like if it manifests itself in other people's comments, and it's sort of like it filters into their psyche, and they hear these things, and it's, and it's almost like they think to themselves, why did we have to have this kid? Look how he turned out. So now in my later life, when I'm doing something really positive, I still don't get that my parents are really impressed by it. Or they may be impressed, they're just not as, they just don't seem to be as praise. They don't seem to find me as praiseworthy as I wish they did. But the one thing I'm glad about is that at least they live long enough to see what I've accomplished. So once they leave this world, at least they'll be able, they can't say the guy, having me was a waste. No, I think having me was a blessing, but it took me a lot of years to finally feel that way.
Yeah, but you still found it, and that's what's
Right.
yeah, at least that'll I feel suffice for you, even if they will never see it, if they don't ever choose to see it, at
Right.
least you know in your heart and soul that you did accomplish, what
Oh,
you
right. I
set out
still
to
am.
do.
Now the other thing is though, and you seem perfectly happy with, with the solitude, I guess, and you have your podcast and the people that you deal with that. I mean, I'm not too, I mean, the truth is I still have my solitude and I'm not perfectly happy with it. To be honest with you, I'm a very lonely person. So when I'm not doing my show, I'm pretty much like, I might as well be living on a deserted island because that's pretty much how I am. I don't really have any, I mean, I'm wearing my heart out on my sleeve here. I don't really have any people I really feel are friends. Not, I mean, that's not true. I do. But as far as like people, if you have friends, these are people you hang out with regularly. I don't really have anybody like that. I spend a lot
Uh
of I spend a lot of time by myself. I spend 98% of my time alone. So when
yeah, no, I get you, and I have a close friend who's a buddy. He does all my art for my
that's great.
uh merchandise and
Yep.
my podcast. But as far as like the feelings of loneliness, I feel like I understand them, and I get you, I empathize because there are times where I do feel lonely, but I do have in my case with my mental health terrible fears
Yeah,
and anxiety, and to me all that triumphs any sort of loneliness. I'd rather be lonely right now than afraid, but I am in constant fear. So
really.
I need to switch one for the other is what I need to do.
That's amazing because you don't seem fearful at all. You seem very calm and relaxed right now. Right now, but I
Well,
guess while you're doing your podcast, that's kind of an escape, though, isn't it? You don't really feel that's when that's the most common thing you got going for you is the podcast, right? Or when you're talking to me like you or being on my show.
oh yes, sir. It's like I could channel that fear into creativity, but then also the handful of pills I take twice a day help too. So
Oh, really? Okay. Wow.
yeah.
Well, all right. Listen, whatever works for you. That's all. That's what matters. I mean, is you gotta feel like you gotta feel like it's working. Obviously, for you now, it is.
Well, sometimes people have to hammer a nail with a hammer, and
Yep.
sometimes all you have is a wrench, and you have to hammer that nail with the wrench,
I've
even
done
though
that before. I
you
actually
know.
had a shingle that was funny. You should say that. I remember a couple of years ago, I had a shingle that was sticking out of my out of the construction of the outer construction of my house, and it was flapping around. And I keep tucking it in, and the wind would keep blowing it out. And one day, I just took a. I didn't. I had a bunch of nails in my garage left over from the people that lived in the house before I moved in, and I just and a wrench. I didn't have a hammer or nothing, but I took the wrench and I literally just hammered the nail in with the wrench, and it worked. And since then, I haven't had any problems with it.
Exactly. Sometimes you got to use the other tools. If you
Yeah.
don't have the other tools lying around, use whatever tool you have to fix the problem. You know what I mean?
Sometimes you can get, I don't know about you, but I get, sometimes if inanimate objects don't cooperate with me, I get mad at them. I pound them and I swear at them. Like for instance, sometimes I overfill my refrigerator. Like today, I was doing that. I always have like 7 or 8 cartons of milk in there and, big cartons of milk and
That's a lot of milk.
I'm a vegan. And
Okay.
and other stuff too, my fake meats that I eat every day because I'm a vegan and, and the thing wasn't closing, so I kept pounding it, and swear. I'm not going to say what I said to it because it would sound like I was, having a mental fit. But that's what I do. And the same thing with my house. Now, when that shingle would, before I took that wrench and started hammering that nail in, I'd swear at the shingle. And the difference is that I was outside because it was on the outer side of my house, so the neighbors could hear it. And I didn't
Yeah.
care. You know what I mean? Fortunately,
Well,
I fixed the problem before it got out of hand, before anyone called the cops on me. So I didn't get in trouble for it. And that was,
and that's always good too to fix a problem before it turns
yeah,
out of control. I know
exactly.
I let my problems completely get out of control before I fix them, and that's one of my
Yeah.
my
Pains of
weaknesses.
existence.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
my
yeah. Okay.
weaknesses and not my strengths.
Oh, okay. No, I understand. That makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
But okay, yeah. I mean, now in my case, it would be nice for me. I mean, obviously, I'm being lonely sometimes. Obviously, you're happy with your solitude. It sounds to me like you got a lot of people that talk to you regularly, and the podcast makes that doable. Are these people that you see regularly? I mean, how often do you do your podcast? Is it every day?
Yes, sir. I do a daily podcast, 10 to 12 minutes every day. I keep it short. It's not that
Okay,
hour,
short and
hour and a
sweet.
half long. Yeah, it's 10 to 12 minutes of me just talking. Some days we'll have guests, maybe once a month, once every 2 months, I'll have someone on. And yeah, we just keep it daily every day. I keep it going.
And but you have people that come visit you, right? At your house. Isn't that where you do it out of?
No, it's all through the internet. The wonder of the internet.
Oh, okay.
Pretty amazing. Yeah.
Oh, I understand. All right. Well, what I was getting at is this, when you started mentioning those women, those girls that you talked to, I'd love to, it sounds to me like I wouldn't mind hooking up with one of them. That's the one thing, you know what I'm saying? All right. Now that I admit that. I always say I'm single as a shingle on a Pringle. And sometimes that gets to me too. Cause I'm not going to go into it. We're actually under 5 minutes, but I've been mistreated by a lot of women especially over the past year in ways that, that I'm not going to elaborate on now, but I have some texts and inboxes on my Facebook page, which I could share. I probably won't because nobody really cares, but it's something that's pretty unpleasant for me. So I'm just expressing it on my show as is, guaranteed by the First Amendment.
No, I feel you. And the curse is for me is that my mother, turned me so kind of against women that I feel like you can't trust your own mother, how can you ever trust a woman?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sort of in that boat. As far as like loneliness, I get what you're saying. And I remember having a conversation with you whenever I did call you about my cousin and being the girl I was chasing after, the girl I couldn't catch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Jerry Lee Lewis fan, I guess, right?
Huh?
Jerry Lee Lewis fan. That's what he did. He married his cousin Myra. Remember?
Oh yeah, but she was of age.
No, she wasn't. She was 13. Oh, you're talking about your cousin.
Yeah, I'm talking about my cousin.
Well, yeah. Okay, well, Jerry Lee Lewis was an icon. All right, look. So Lorenzo, we're down under 5 minutes. So what I want you to do is those people we just mentioned, you give them shouts out. Then we'll wrap the show up with my music the way we began. And I hope you had fun talking to me. I certainly had fun talking to you.
Oh no, yeah, you're great.
Yeah. But go ahead, give some shouts out, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Adam Thoreau. He's a great man. He introduces us to everyone. Shout out to my buddy Cardiff Electric. He's the best podcast potato in the world. I want to shout out to my buddy Retro Horror Inc. You could check out his website, www.retrohorrorinc.com. Shout out to Linda. She knows who she is. Shout out to my cousin. I miss her. Please. Huh? No, she's not.
Oh, all right.
She's not. She's just a friend. She's just a friend.
Okay.
But shout out to my cousin. If you're still out there, please return my calls. I miss you. And yeah, shout out to all my fans for That's All Funny. I appreciate it. If you want to go check out the podcast, it's called That's All Funny. It's available everywhere. Check out my YouTube, youtube.com/@Lorenzo Arreola, or you could check out my Patreon, where we have bonuses and stuff for the podcast. Patreon.com/Lorenzo Arreola.
What do you mean bonuses? You give money away?
No, like we have ad-free episodes and extra content and videos and stuff like that.
Okay, fine. Yeah. We'll talk about that. I mean, that'll be postable when we edit the show. Now, before we wrap the show up, do you have anything coming up that you want to mention that you overlooked that's going to happen soon? Or if not, that's fine. But I always check that with everybody I interview.
Oh no, we keep the daily grind of putting out a daily episode.
Okay.
And just if you want extra content, just join the Patreon. We that's what we do here.
All right, Lorenzo, you did a wonderful job with me. I'm going to ask one favor. Once we wrap the show up, will you stick around and do a couple of pics for Facebook?
Yes, sir.
I'll take it.
Of course, sir.
All right. Well, great job, Lorenzo. We're going to wrap the show up, and you're ready to snap away like we did at the beginning?
All right. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, folks. Thanks for watching Topic Time. See you next time. Have a good one. We're signing off. 10-4.